The Great Hall on Zarian Prime buzzed with voices from 12 different alien species. Crystal walls reached high into the sky, casting rainbow light across the chamber where the Galactic Council met. Representatives from across the galaxy sat, in their special seats, each designed for their unique bodies. Ambassador Kethvar stood at the center of the room. His scaled skin was dark green and his yellow eyes showed deep worry. The old Vorthak had seen many wars in his long life. Today, he brought news that made his hands shake. Captain Jake Morrison sat with the human group. Next to him, Commander Lisa Carter checked her datapad while Dr. Alex Turner studied the alien technology around them. The humans had joined the Galactic Council only 15 years ago. Most aliens still thought of them as the new kids who did not know much about space. Kethvar's voice carried across the hall. The Zephyrian Empire grows stronger each day. They have taken 12 worlds in the Outer Rim. Their insect armies destroy everything in their path. They make slaves of entire populations and strip planets bare. The reptilian Thrak delegate, General Sothrim, made a hissing sound. His red eyes glowed with anger, but not at the Zephyrians. He looked straight at the human section. Why do we waste time talking about these soft mammals? Their world has only small wars. They know nothing about real fighting. Their ships are weak and their weapons are toys. Elder Nixara of the Luminari floated above her seat. Her body looked like it was made of light and air. When she spoke, her voice sounded like music, but her words were not kind. The humans should carry supplies and fix things. Let the real warriors handle the dangerous work. Other aliens nodded their heads. The blue-skinned Zelani thought humans were too emotional. The rock-like Christek said humans broke too easily. The gas cloud ethereals could not understand how such heavy beings could fight in space. Captain Morrison stood up. I ask permission to speak. The council leader, a tall being with 4 arms, waved one hand. The human may speak, but be quick. Morrison's voice was calm and steady. We know we are new here. We know our technology is different from yours. But we have learned much in our short time among the stars. If you give us a chance, we will prove our worth. General Sothrim laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Prove your worth? You have never fought a real enemy. The Zephyrians will tear through your little ships like paper. You will run crying back to your small blue world. Commander Carter's face turned red, but she did not speak. Dr. Turner made notes on his pad, recording every insult for later study. Captain Morrison kept his voice level. We understand your concerns. We only ask to help in whatever way you think best. The council voted quickly. Humans would handle supply runs and medical support. They would stay far from any real fighting. The important work would go to species with thousands of years of war experience. As the meeting ended, most aliens left quickly. They had battle plans to make and fleets to move. The humans gathered their things slowly, disappointment clear on their faces. Ambassador Kethvar walked over to Captain Morrison. The old Vorthak looked around to make sure no one else was listening. Captain, may I speak with you privately? They moved to a quiet corner of the Great Hall. Kethvar's yellow eyes stared into Morrison's brown ones. My people have fought across this galaxy for over 5,000 years. We have seen many species rise to power and fall to dust. We know the signs of those who are truly dangerous. Morrison waited for the alien to continue. When I look at your people, I see something that reminds me of the shadow hunters from my home world. They looked small and weak, but they were the most feared predators on our planet. The Council makes a big mistake by not taking humans seriously. Morrison nodded slowly. We appreciate your faith in us, Ambassador. We will do whatever job the Council gives us, and we will do it well. Kethvar placed a clawed hand on Morrison's shoulder. I have lived long enough to know when a species has the heart of a warrior. Humans have that heart. The Council will learn this truth, but I fear they will learn it too late. The old Vorthak walked away, leaving the humans alone in the fading light of the Crystal Hall. Back on their ship, the 3 human officers sat in the small meeting room. Commander Carter finally spoke her mind. They treat us like children who cannot be trusted with sharp objects. Dr. Turner looked up from his notes. Their mistake comes from not understanding human history. They see our planet as peaceful because they only know about the last 50 years. They do not know about our world wars, our survival instincts, or what we do when someone threatens innocent people. Captain Morrison stared out the window at the alien ships preparing for war. Maybe it is better this way. Let them underestimate us. When the time comes, we will show them what humans can really do. Commander Carter smiled for the first time that day. Supply runs and medical support, right? That puts us close to the action when things go wrong. Dr. Turner nodded. And things always go wrong in war. The aliens think in straight lines. They make plans and expect enemies to follow rules. Humans learned long ago that the enemy never follows your rules. As their ship left Zerion Prime, long-range sensors picked up massive energy signatures moving through space. The Zephyrian fleets were bigger than anyone expected. Hundreds of biomechanical ships moved like a dark cloud toward Council space. On the bridge, the human communications officer picked up scattered reports. The enemy was not just attacking military targets. They hit civilian colonies, research stations, and peaceful worlds. This was not a war for territory. This was something much worse. Captain Morrison studied the tactical displays. The Council fleets were moving into standard defensive positions, just like their textbooks taught. The Zephyrians would hit them exactly where they expected to be hit. It would be a slaughter. He thought about Ambassador Kethfar's words. The Council would learn about human capabilities, but would they learn in time to matter? Morrison hoped. So because something told him that this war would decide the fate of every free species in the galaxy, the human fleet moved toward their assigned position, far from the expected battle zones. But Morrison had already decided that if innocent lives were at stake, orders could be changed. Sometimes doing the right thing mattered more than following rules. In the depths of space, the Zephyrian swarm continued its approach. Soon the galaxy would discover what happened when someone made the mistake of threatening everything humans cared about. 3 weeks passed like a calm before a storm. Then the Zephyrian attack began. Admiral Rachel Kane stood on the bridge of the human battleship Columbia. Warning lights flashed red across her command center. The communication systems buzzed with panic from across the galaxy. Every few minutes, another distress signal came through the speakers. "Admiral, we are getting reports from the Thrak Home Fleet," said Lieutenant Tom Bradley at the communications station. "They are under heavy attack." The enemy appeared out of nowhere. Kane studied the tactical display. Red dots showed Zephyrian forces attacking 7 different star systems at the same time. The aliens had planned this perfectly. They hit the strongest Council fleets first before anyone could send help. "What about the Zilani Armada?" Kane asked. "They lasted 3 hours," Bradley replied. "The survivors are running toward the inner systems. The Zilani Admiral says the enemy ships are like nothing they have ever seen." Dr. Susan Miller entered the bridge. Her face was pale from studying the intercepted alien communications. "Admiral, I need to tell you something important. The Zephyrians are not just conquering worlds. They are taking prisoners for some horrible purpose." Kane turned to face the doctor. "What kind of purpose?" Miller held up her datapad. "I decoded some of their battle communications. They call it conversion. They are taking living beings and turning them into something else. The prisoners become mindless soldiers who fight for the Zephyrians." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The enemy was not just killing people. They were stealing their minds and using them as weapons. "Admiral," called out Ensign Betty Collins from the sensor station, "we are getting a priority message from Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Brooks. His reconnaissance team is requesting immediate pickup." Kane nodded. "Put him through." The main screen showed Brooks and his team hiding in the ruins of a city. Behind them, strange biomechanical ships moved through the sky like giant insects. The lieutenant colonel's face was covered in dirt and blood. "Admiral, New Thrak has fallen," Brooks reported. "The planet was supposed to hold for months. The Zephyrians broke through in 6 hours. They used captured Thrak weapons against the defenders." Sergeant Maria Rodriguez appeared next to Brooks. The tough Marine looked shaken. "Ma'am, these things are not normal enemies. We watched them drag civilians into their ships. The people were screaming, but not from pain. They were screaming because they knew what was going to happen to them. Kane felt her stomach turn cold. "Can you get to the extraction point?" "Yes, ma'am. But Admiral, you need to know something else. The Zephyrians have technology that turns prisoners into drone soldiers. We saw Thrax civilians fighting against their own families. They had no choice. Something was controlling their minds." The transmission ended as Brooks and his team ran toward their rescue ship. Kane stared at the empty screen. The reports kept coming in, each one worse than the last. The proud Thrak battle fleets were gone. The advanced Zelani armadas were running, for their lives. Most terrible of all, the legendary Vorthak defense fleet had gone completely silent. "Admiral," Lieutenant Bradley said quietly, "we are receiving new orders from the Galactic Council. They want all human ships to fall back to the outer supply routes. We are to avoid all combat zones." Kane read the message on her command screen. The Council was still treating humans like children who could not handle real danger. They wanted human ships to stay safe while the galaxy burned around them. Commander Linda Hayes stepped forward. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Kane looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These were good people who had joined the space fleet to help others. She thought about the screaming civilians on New Thrak. She thought about the Vorthak warriors who had fought bravely for thousands of years, now silent forever. "Change course," Kane ordered. "Set a heading for the Kepler system. That is where the Vorthak made their last stand." "But Admiral," Hayes said carefully, "our orders are to stay away from combat zones." Kane's voice was firm. "The Council has never seen what humans do when innocent people are in danger. They think we are weak because we avoid war when possible. They do not understand that we avoid war because we know how terrible we can be when we fight." Captain Danny Foster's voice came over the communication system from his ship, the heavy cruiser Liberty. "Admiral, my crew is ready to follow you anywhere. We did not come to space to hide while others suffer." Similar messages came from every human ship in the fleet. Not one captain wanted to follow the Council's orders to retreat. They all wanted to help the people who were being hurt by the Zephyrians. Kane opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Kane. The Galactic Council has ordered us to retreat to safe positions. I am giving you a choice. You can follow those orders and stay safe, or you can come with me to help the people who need us most." The responses came back immediately. Every single ship chose to follow Kane toward the battle zones. Meanwhile, on the Council's fortress world of Haven Prime, the alien leaders met in emergency session. Chancellor Vorteth of the Christek Coalition received the reports about human fleet movements. "These humans are fools," Vorteth declared. "Their primitive ships cannot fight biomechanical weapons. They will be destroyed in minutes." Elder Nixara of the Luminari agreed. "We should order them to stop. They are wasting valuable resources." But when they tried to contact Admiral Kane, her response surprised everyone. The message was broadcast on all Council frequencies so every alien leader could hear it. "Chancellor Vorteth, with respect, you have never seen what humans do when someone threatens innocent lives. You think we are weak because we choose peace when possible. You are about to learn that there is a big difference between being peaceful and being helpless. We are going in." The Council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some aliens called the humans stupid. Others said they were disobeying direct orders. A few wondered if the humans knew something the rest of them did not. In space, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. On their sensors, they could see the last battle of the Vorthak Defense Force. The ancient warriors were surrounded by hundreds of Zephyrian bioships. They were fighting bravely, but they were badly outnumbered. Admiral Kane studied the tactical display. The enemy controlled the orbital space around Kepler's Hope. The Vorthak survivors were trapped on the planet's surface, making their final stand against impossible odds. "All ships, battle stations," Kane ordered. "Today, we show the galaxy what humans are really made of." The Zephyrians detected the approaching human fleet. They had already defeated the strongest Council forces. These new ships looked small and weak. The insect commanders expected an easy victory. They were about to learn their first lesson about humanity. When humans decide to fight, they do not fight like anyone else in the galaxy. The battle for Kepler's hope began like no other fight in galactic history. The Zephyrian commanders looked at their screens with confidence. 300 biomechanical ships surrounded the planet. Their insect-like vessels pulsed with organic weapons that had already destroyed the mighty Thrak fleets. Now 50 small human ships approached them. It would be an easy victory. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the Columbia, watching the enemy formation. The Zephyrians had arranged their ships in a perfect circle around the planet, just like military textbooks taught. They expected the humans to attack in straight lines, the way other Council species always fought. "All ships, this is Admiral Kane," she said over the fleet communication system. "Remember your training. We do not fight like everyone else. Break formation and begin Hunter Protocol." The human fleet suddenly scattered in all directions. Instead of staying together in a neat group, each ship went its own way. The Zephyrians had never seen anything like it. Their commanders tried to target the human vessels, but they moved too randomly to predict. Captain Peter Grant commanded the destroyer Relentless. His ship was smaller than most Zephyrian vessels, but it was fast and clever. Grant had an idea that surprised everyone, including his own crew. "Target their bioships with the mining lasers," Grant ordered. "Sir, those are not weapons." "His weapons," officer said. "They are tools for cutting asteroids." "Exactly," Grant smiled. "These alien ships evolved to resist normal weapons. But I bet they never faced industrial equipment." The Relentless swept past a large Zephyrian vessel and fired its mining lasers. The cutting beams sliced through the organic hull like a hot knife through butter. The bioship split in half, its green blood floating in space. Other human captains saw Grant's success and copied his tactics. Soon, mining lasers, construction tools, and even garbage disposal systems were being used as weapons. The Zephyrians had no defense against equipment they had never seen in battle. On the planet's surface, Colonel Amy Watson led the first human ground assault. Her Marines landed near a Vorthak prison camp where thousands of aliens were being held for conversion. The Zephyrian ground forces met them with the same tactics that had defeated other Council armies. The insect warriors charged in straight lines, using their natural armor and claws to overwhelm enemies. This had worked against the honor-bound Thrak soldiers and the rigid Zelani formations. But humans fought differently. Watson's Marines used something called combined arms tactics. While the Zephyrians charged forward, human aircraft attacked from above. Artillery shells fell among the insect ranks. Infantry teams hit them from 3 different directions at once. Sergeant Tony Mitchell led his squad through the prison camp gates. What they found inside made even the tough Marines feel sick. Alien prisoners sat in rows with strange devices attached to their heads. The machines were slowly draining their minds and replacing their thoughts with Zephyrian control signals. "Colonel, we found them," Mitchell reported over his radio. "There are thousands of prisoners here, but some of them have already been changed." Watson and her team rushed to the medical center. Dr. Helen Rodriguez, the human battlefield medic, worked alongside a Vorthak scientist named Kethmore. Together, they studied the alien mind control technology. "The good news is that we can stop the conversion process," Rodriguez explained. "The bad news is that prisoners who have been changed for more than a day might not recover completely." Kethmore, his yellow eyes filled with hope for the first time in weeks, showed the humans something amazing. "Your human immune systems fight off the Zephyrian bioweapons better than any species we have seen. Your bodies naturally resist their control parasites." Rodriguez had an idea. "What if we use human blood to create a treatment? Our antibodies might help other species fight off the conversion process." While the medical team worked on a cure, the battle in space continued. Commander Steve Johnson led human engineering teams in the most dangerous mission of all. They boarded damaged Zephyrian vessels to capture their technology. Most species would never try to enter enemy ships during battle. But humans had a gift for adapting to new situations quickly. Johnson's teams learned to use Zephyrian biotechnology against its creators. "Admiral, this is Johnson," he reported from inside a captured bioship. "These vessels are partially alive. They respond to direct neural interface. I think we can turn them against their own fleet." Within hours, converted Zephyrian ships began attacking their former allies. The insect commanders could not understand how their own vessels had turned against them. They had never faced an enemy that could adapt their technology so quickly. Meanwhile, the surviving Vorthak forces on the planet began to rally. War Commander Bethkak, an ancient warrior who had fought in 100 battles, coordinated with human ground forces for the first time. "These humans fight like the shadow hunters of legend," Bethkak told her troops. "They strike from unexpected angles and use any tool as a weapon. Follow their lead and we might yet survive this day." The tide of battle began to turn. For the first time since the war began, Zephyrian forces were retreating. Their bioships fled from human mining lasers. Their ground troops could not handle the chaotic human tactics. Most importantly, their conversion process was failing as human-developed treatments freed thousands of prisoners. Admiral Kane watched the main Zephyrian command ship trying to escape the battle. This vessel was larger than any other, with organic spines that pulsed with dark energy. Intelligence reports said it carried a hive queen, one of the leaders of the entire Zephyrian invasion. "All ships target the command vessel," Kane ordered, "but do not destroy it. We are going to capture it." Her bridge crew looked at her in surprise. Captain Danny Foster's voice came over the communication system from the Liberty. "Admiral, did you say capture? That ship is 10 times the size of our largest vessel." Kane smiled. "The Zephyrians think in terms of destroying enemies. We think in terms of solving problems. That Hive Queen has information we need about why they started this war. Besides, has anyone ever tried to capture their command ship before?" The answer was no. Every other species had focused on destroying Zephyrian vessels. Humans were the first to try something different. Using a combination of mining equipment, construction tools, and pure human stubbornness, the fleet managed to disable the command ship without destroying it. Boarding teams fought their way through organic corridors filled with biomechanical defenses. When they finally reached the command center, they found something that shocked the entire galaxy. Hive Queen Zixathera was not the monster they expected. She was afraid, desperate, and trying to save her species from something even worse than war. The capture of a Zephyrian Hive Queen sent messages across the galaxy faster than light could travel. On Haven Prime, the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. The humans had done something impossible. They had defeated the Zephyrians using tactics no one had ever seen before. But more importantly, they had captured the enemy leader alive. For the first time since the war began, there was hope for answers about why the invasion had started and how it might end. The interrogation room aboard the Columbia was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Hive Queen Zixathera sat behind a barrier of clear metal, her insect body trembling with fear rather than anger. Commander Greg Patterson, a human intelligence specialist, sat across from her with Vorthak mind reader Seer Nixketh. For 3 days they had tried to understand why the Zephyrians had started their brutal war. The answers they discovered changed everything. "Tell them about the Devourers." Zixathera clicked in her strange insect language. Seer Nixketh translated her words for the humans. Patterson leaned forward. "What are the Devourers?" The Hive Queen's compound eyes showed pure terror. "They come from the void between galaxies, machines that eat entire star systems. They turn planets into raw materials and leave only empty space behind. My people have been running from them for 50 years. Dr. Karen Thompson, humanity's leading expert on alien minds, joined the conversation. Unlike other council species who saw the Zephyrians as evil monsters, she treated them as fellow beings facing extinction. "You were not conquering worlds for power," Thompson said gently. "You were trying to find a new home before the Devourers caught up with you." Zixathera's head moved up and down in what humans recognized as nodding. "We needed resources and population to build ships fast enough to stay ahead of them. The conversion process was meant to create workers, not soldiers. But when the council species fought back, we had to use the converted beings as warriors." Patterson understood now. "You were not evil. You were desperate." The interrogation was interrupted by alarms throughout the ship. Admiral Kane rushed to the bridge where Lieutenant Bradley waited with terrible news. "Admiral, long-range sensors have detected Something at the edge of the galaxy. Multiple objects, each the size of a small moon, moving toward council space. Kane studied the sensor readings. The objects were perfect geometric shapes made of some unknown metal. They moved in straight lines, destroying everything in their path. 3 small systems had already gone completely dark. The Devourers, Kane whispered. She opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council on Haven Prime. "This is Admiral Kane. We need an emergency meeting. The real enemy has arrived." Hours later, the council chambers were packed with representatives from every surviving species. The humans no longer sat in the back corner. Admiral Kane stood at the center of the room with Hive Queen Zixthara beside her. General Sothram of the Thrak could not believe what he was seeing. "You brought the enemy leader here? This is madness." Kane's voice was calm but firm. "She is not our enemy. She is another victim of the real threat. The Zephyrians were running from something that makes their invasion look like a minor disagreement. Elder." Nixara of the Luminary floated higher in her anger. "We cannot trust anything this creature says. Her people destroyed our fleets and enslaved our civilians." Dr. Thompson stepped forward. "With respect, Elder, fear makes people do terrible things. The Zephyrians were facing complete extinction. They thought they had to choose between destroying us or being destroyed themselves." Ambassador Kethavar, now recovered from his injuries during the war, supported the humans. "I have lived long enough to recognize desperation when I see it. This Hive Queen speaks the truth." The council watched in amazement as Zixthara showed them recordings from her people's escape. The Devourers were massive mechanical swarms that stripped entire worlds down to their core metals. They left nothing behind but empty space and cosmic dust. "How do we fight something like that?" asked Chancellor Vorteth of the Christek Coalition. General Chris Bailey, humanity's top military strategist, had spent days studying the Devourer recordings. "We don't fight them the way we have always fought. Traditional weapons won't work against machines this large. We need something completely new." Bailey's plan was revolutionary. Human engineers would work with Zephyrian biotechnicians to create hybrid weapons. The biological creativity of the insect species combined with human adaptability could produce tools capable of fighting the mechanical swarms. Ambassador Patricia Moore, who had once negotiated hostage situations on Earth, took charge of the diplomatic side. She worked directly with surviving Zephyrian queens to create peace treaties that satisfied both sides. "The Zephyrians will return all converted prisoners and help repair the damage they caused," Moore announced to the council. "In return, they will be given sanctuary worlds and full membership in our alliance." Many aliens were outraged. The Thrak wanted revenge for their fallen fleets. The Zelani demanded punishment for the destroyed colonies, but the humans convinced them that survival mattered more than revenge. "We can spend our time fighting each other while the Devourers destroy everything," Kane told the council. "Or we can work together and maybe find a way to survive." 6 months later, the galaxy looked completely different. Human shipyards worked alongside Zephyrian bioforges, building vessels that combined the best of both technologies. The new ships could repair themselves like living things but fought with the tactical flexibility that only humans understood. General Bailey coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history. Joint task forces of humans, Zephyrians, and council species liberated the remaining occupied worlds. But instead of simply defeating the enemy, they offered every Zephyrian soldier a choice between punishment and cooperation. Most chose cooperation. The insect warriors had been following orders to save their species. When offered a chance to build rather than destroy, they eagerly joined the alliance. The first Devourer scouts reached council space just as the new defense network came online. The mechanical swarms expected to find divided species fighting each other. Instead, they encountered a united galaxy using tactics they had never seen before. Human-designed ships used Zephyrian biotechnology to adapt to the Devourer's weapons in real time. When the machines tried to drain a planet's resources, they found conversion fields that turned their own metal into defensive barriers. Most importantly, the Alliance fought as one species instead of 12 separate ones. Human strategic doctrine had become the standard across the galaxy. No one fights alone, no one gets left behind, And sometimes the best defense is turning your enemy into your ally. The final scene took place in the same council chambers where humans had once been dismissed as weak and useless. Ambassador Kethvar addressed the memorial service for all species who had died in the war. The ancient Vorthak have a saying, the old diplomat began. Beware the anger of a patient people. We ignored this wisdom about humanity and nearly paid with our civilization. Humans are not the strongest species, nor the oldest, nor the most advanced. But they have something we had forgotten, the wisdom to help others, instead of conquering them. Admiral Kane stood with her former rivals from the Council, watching construction ships build new defenses against the Devourer threat. Captain Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, joined her at the observation window. Think we can hold them off? Morrison asked. Kane smiled. We are not the same galaxy that the Devourers expect to find. We learned something important in this war. When different species work together, they become stronger than the sum of their parts. In the distance, warning beacons detected more Devourer activity moving toward their space. But for the first time in galactic history, every species in the Council faced an existential threat with the same motto. Stronger together, vigilant always, human at heart. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the newest voice in the room has the most important things to say.